All right, so we know that Newton's second law says that forces cause masses to accelerate. So we're going to write that like this. This is forces cause masses to accelerate. Masses don't accelerate on their own. You need a force to do it. But not all forces cause masses to accelerate. So for example, if you are looking at your computer sitting at your desk, gravity is pulling down on it. We call that the weight, but the table is pushing up on it. And those two forces are balanced, and so they don't cause the computer to accelerate. The computer is just sitting there in front of you right now. So what we really mean is not all forces cause masses to accelerate, only unbalanced ones. And so the way we write that in our equation is we write it like this. So this little symbol right here, and you'll look in your toolbox and you'll see this is the equation we have. This is the big equation for the unit, and it's already there. This symbol right here means the net force or the unbalanced force. So today we're going to solve some problems where you're going to use this idea. So not all forces cause accelerations, only unbalanced ones. So this thing right here is our way of saying unbalanced forces cause masses to accelerate. So if you can find the unbalanced force, that will equal the mass times the acceleration. Okay? So let me solve the first homework problem with you, and then you'll kind of get the idea of how it goes, and then you can solve the rest on your own. So here's an example of a problem. This is actually your first homework problem in homework 3. And what we have is a box pulled to the right by an applied force and friction acts towards the left. And the first thing we have to do is draw a force diagram. So here's my box right here, and there's a force going to the right, and that force is 150 newtons. So I'm going to call this 150 newtons. Now there's a force going to the left, which is 130 newtons. That's not quite as big, so I've got to draw a smaller arrow going to the left. This is 130 newtons. That's the force going to the left. So what we have to do is a couple things. We have to find the unbalanced force. We need the mass and the acceleration. These are our three things we're looking for. And then we can solve the equation. So to find the unbalanced force is going to be the difference in these two forces since they're going opposite directions. So that's going to be 150 newtons minus 130 newtons, which is 20 newtons. So that's the unbalanced force. So in question B on the online homework, it says, what is the unbalanced force? So there's your answer right there. It is 20 newtons. So that's our first answer that we need. And then the second question says, what is the acceleration? So now we have to use Newton's law. Newton's law says that the unbalanced force equals the mass times the acceleration. The unbalanced force is 20 newtons. So what we're doing is we are going to solve this equation for the acceleration. That's our plan. So the unbalanced force is 20 newtons. That equals the mass, which, let's see, this is 20 newtons we figured out. The mass, it tells us in the problem, is 15 kilograms. And we're trying to find the acceleration. So 20 newtons, the force, equals the mass, which is 15 kilograms, times the acceleration. So if we want the acceleration by itself, we're going to have to divide. So if I divide both sides by 15, those will cancel. That's actually kilograms. Those will cancel and leave me with A. So the acceleration is going to equal 20 divided by 15, which I put in my calculator, and I get 1.33, and that's going to be meters per second per second. So there's how you can find the acceleration from the forces. So the big idea we're using today is this idea right here. An unbalanced force equals the mass times the acceleration. And so if you want to find the unbalanced force, just find the difference in the forces. And once you know that, that equals the mass times the acceleration. You can solve for either the mass or the acceleration, whichever it is you need. Okay? So this is actually problem number 1 from your homework. You can go ahead and fill in the answers. Question A asks you to find the force diagram. So you've got to find the one that has a force that's bigger to the right than the force to the left. Then you've got to find the net force. So take 150 minus 130. The net force is 20 newtons. And then lastly, you're going to solve this equation for the acceleration. And you're going to show your work, just like I did here. Because at the end of the assignment, you're going to send me a picture of your work to get all your points. If you don't show me your work, you won't get all your points. You'll just get about 2/3 of them. So show me your work in your homework book, and then you'll get all your points when you email it to me. Okay? So that's your job for today. I'm here. I can help you. If you get stuck, send me an email. Send me a picture of what you've got so far, or tell me what question you're on and what you've got so far so I can help you. And we'll be able to get you through this, okay? So that's your job for today, to work on that.